What up, what up, what up, YouTube world? This is K Lump coming at you again from where? Game Zone, baby. Y'all know where we at. We located at 31515 Lorraine Road, North Olmsted, Ohio. Come play with us. $35 per person, 2 to 5 people to play. Escape rooms. Come have some fun with us. Put you in virtual reality, have fun. We got snacks, we got drinks. Shout out to Wild Child TV. Guess what we talking about today, y'all? As a felon, do you have a right to carry a firearm? Most people believe that once you get a felony, that you cannot carry a firearm anymore. Is that true? Or is it untrue? We're going to break down one state, the state of Ohio. That's the state I'm from. So it's easy to pull up the ORC codes and see what happens. You catch a felony, or can you ever have a firearm? I'm not talking about filing paperwork to courts and asking for permission. I'm talking about, can you just do it? That's what we're talking about today, okay? I'm going to educate y'all. I told y'all we're going to be jumping around the board, reacting to different videos, but today I got a great video from Wayland Law Office. Shout out to y'all. And he's talking about restoring federal firearms rights with a felony, okay? Understand that he could be talking about his location where he practices at, and I'm talking about the state of Ohio. So there's going to be some, again, I'm reviewing this reaction video with you guys at the same time. So I have not watched this. I started to watch it, and then I said, let me go back and then go live and put all the information out so we can have correct information. If we're talking about the last episode, I made a verbal error in the last episode when I said that good time days was 57. It was really 47, and we were supposed to be getting 54. So that was the difference right there. So just to clarify that and make that correction there, okay? Well, let's get at it, right? See what he got for us. Can you, as a felon, legally carry a firearm ever again? See what they say.
Happy Friday, everybody. This week's video
Happy Friday,
is
everybody.
something that comes up from time to time, and that is when I get a client that comes in that was convicted of a felony several years ago, even sometimes.
You know, I always say words mean things. So in order to understand the full context of things, we have to have definitions. We have to understand the concept behind what's being said. So everybody knows that somebody who was convicted of a felony or has a felony, we just call it felony because it's easy to say. But it actually has a definition, okay? Yes, felony actually has a definition. Let's find that definition of felony really quickly. I got a lot of boxes up, y'all, so we're gonna be learning today. So we teaching today, all right? Let me use, I can use this one right here. All right, pertaining to antitrust. Okay, right there. I want to highlight that right there. I just want to make that bigger for you, make that a little bigger for y'all so y'all can see it as well. So let's go to 200%. Okay, there we go. All right. The term crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. Okay. That is the definition of a felony. In order for you to qualify for a felony, whatever crime you commit has to what? Exceed the term of 1 year. Okay? That's the definition of it. So they broke the definition down. We now understand, if you didn't before, when somebody says they got a felony, you know whether or not they go to jail. That's not what it's talking about. You can have a felony and not go to jail, okay? They don't go hand in hand with each other, all right? So what we need to understand is, to be considered a felony, whatever crime you did had to be punishable by a term of exceeding 1 year. Let's keep going with my man.
Decades ago, and they want to try to find a way to get their gun rights restored to them. So this is a tricky question with an even trickier answer.
Okay. What I don't like about this situation is it's not tricky at all. It doesn't have a tricky answer at all. It's really straightforward. If you read and you understand what the law is saying, and you can comprehend what the law says, then it's very simple to understand whether you can or you can't. Depending on, here's the key, the state you are from. Maintain that and hold on to that.
So here is something that may surprise some of you. There is actually a law that allows the federal government to restore gun rights to people convicted of a felony. Because as most of you know, if you're convicted of a felony, you cannot possess any firearms or ammunition.
You see what he just said? There is a law that the federal government will restore your rights back to you, because as you know, if you're a felon, you cannot have firearms and ammunition. This is kind of a half-truth. It's a somewhat true, but it's somewhat not true, okay? So, and this is where people will be confused right here, and they will believe this. And they will say, oh, well, I can't because they said I can't. Let's go further.
That's a prohibition both on the state level and on the federal level. So even if the state of Texas does something to restore your gun rights to you, which they can do, on the federal level, you would still be violating a law if you possess a gun.
This is not true. Okay? If you have a state, this is where the confusion comes in. If you have a state felony, let's say you were in, for instance, the state of Texas, and the state of Texas, what he told you before, has restored your rights to own a firearm, which we'll get to the name of those. They don't call it restore rights to firearms, okay? Then, at that moment, you would not and could not be charged federally for owning and possessing a firearm, okay? And I'm going to show you why as we go forward.
And you're convicted of a felony. So there is a federal law that allows for this. It's 18 U.S.C. 925, and it says that the Attorney General of the United States has the power to receive an application for this specific type of relief and grant that relief. What's even more surprising is that there is a committee or a board that was set up within the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, whose sole responsibility it was to review these applications and make decisions on them. Here's where it gets tricky though, because you'd be able to go online, you'd be able to find that form, find that application, fill it out, and send it in. Back in 1993, the Senate Appropriations Committee, when they did their budget, they defunded the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for using any money for this committee. Specifically for this committee, they said that they cannot use any government money to fund these efforts. What that means is, for all intents and purposes, the committee, even though it still exists by name, no longer operates in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, I don't want to go run it too long. I don't know what he's going to say anyway, so let's get at some untruths and some truths, okay? He brought up a statute. Let's go here. There we go. 18 U.S.C. 925C, okay? Which it says a person who is prohibited from possessing, shipping, transporting, receiving firearms and ammunition may make an application to the Attorney General for relief from the disability imposed by federal laws. By federal laws. From the disability imposed by federal laws. What does that mean? That means that what this man right here is talking about is if you have a felony directly from the federal government. If you have a felony directly from the federal government, meaning you don't have a state case, state felony, none of that. The FBI, DEA, maybe the CIA, any other organization like that came after you, charged you, and indicted you, and then put you in jail, and now you are considered a felon because your crime did what? Consisted of a year or more, right? Okay, let's keep learning. Then you have to go through this process in order for you to get the opportunity to have your firearms rights restored to you. I'm going to fast forward back to where we were and let him keep talking. And again, after I get done with this, we're going to jump into what we're talking about, and I'm going to show it to you on paper. I'm not the one who just want to talk and make you believe I think I know everything. I'm going to show it to you in law So you'll see it, so you'll know, like, okay, what he talking about ain't, man, this dude might be crazy. Gonna have me catching cases.
Using any money for this committee, specifically for this committee, they said that they cannot use any government money to fund these efforts. What that means is, for all intents and purposes, the committee, even though it still exists by name, no longer operates in any way, shape, or form. Why that makes this matter so messy is because if you were to fill out an application, send it off to the ATF, you would likely receive that application back to you saying that this committee has been defunded, is no longer operational, and therefore can take no action on your application. Now, if you were to petition the federal court, let's say you were convicted of a federal felony back in the 80s, and you want to go back to that same court and say, I'd like to appeal this decision that they denied my application for this relief, which is generally speaking in your right to do. You can appeal a decision that was made by a governmental entity. The problem you run into, and there's case law out there that talks about this, is because this committee is not actually making a decision. They're not denying your application, they're simply taking no action on it. That handcuffs the federal district courts to where they now do not have standing to overturn the decision, because in the eyes of the law, no decision has been made. So that means that people with felony level convictions are kind of stuck, even though the law specifically allows a mechanism for them to get their gun rights back. In actual practice, such relief just doesn't exist. The only way currently to get your gun rights back is through some act of clemency, whether that's a pardon on the state level or on the federal level.
Just the federal level. We'll see. I'll show you why.
So when people come in and they ask, hey, how do I get my gun rights restored? This was a felony that happened back when I was a teenager or a young adult, and now I'm in my 40s or 50s. I'm a totally different person. Unfortunately, my answer 9 times out of 10 is there's really nothing we can do as of right now.
Yet, his answer should be, is it a federal felony or is it a state felony? That's what his answer should be.
Now, we're always keeping our eye on the law to see if anything changes, if all of a sudden this committee starts to become funded again to where they're reviewing these applications and anything changes.
Maybe we should invest, put some money towards getting this committee active again. What do you guys think?
But until that happens, this answer is likely not going to change anytime soon. And as you can imagine, one of the last things on legislators' minds is, hey, we really need to look at restoring the gun rights of convicted felons. It's just not something that's ever going to generate enough political buzz for anybody to really take any action on it. So I don't anticipate this answer to change anytime soon. So unfortunately, if you know somebody that was ever convicted of a felony and they want to know the answer, hey, how do I get my gun rights back? As of right now, the answer is, unless you can secure either a presidential or a governor pardon, then the answer is going to be there's really nothing you can do. If you have any questions about any of this...
See what he said? He's a lawyer. He said, there's nothing you can do. If he's talking about a federal felony, he's correct. There's nothing you can do. You're kind of stuck in limbo. But there's people out here with state felonies. And the question you have to ask is, what does your state felony say? Let's go to it. Okay. We're going to read over this. 921-820. As a matter of fact, no, let me go to here first. First, in the federal system, felon in possession of a firearm falls up under section 922G. Under 922G, it says one common federal criminal charge applies to possession of a firearm by a felon. 922G includes a variety of situations involve illegal firearm possession, but section 1 of this provision states, now, here's the elements of the crime. G, it shall be unlawful for any person. So now it's laying out the basics. To 1, who has been convicted in any court, see the words, any court, of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. See, they didn't say felony. You see, they gave you the definition of it. who has been convicted in any court of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. So, when you get arrested in the federal system, they have to prove first that you have a crime that excludes you from possession of firearms. This is what they have to prove. It's kind of easy to do in a courtroom. All you do is bring the person's previous criminal record and you show it and say, this is the crime that disqualifies that individual from owning a firearm. Okay? To ship or transport in interstate or foreign commerce, moving across state boundaries or even within the state boundaries, or possess in or affecting commerce any firearm or ammunition, or to receive any firearm or ammunition which has been shipped or transported interstate or foreign commerce. Let me explain that to y'all. Let's say that you live in the state of Ohio, and it's a gun manufacturer in that state called High Point, and you are caught with that High Point, and you are a felon according to the definition of the federal government's felon. And when they caught you with that gun, you didn't have any bullets in the gun. They just caught you with the gun. At that moment, you are not a felon in possession of a firearm. Why not? Because you have not affected interstate commerce. This is how the government gets their authority. Okay? Why haven't you affected interstate commerce? Intrastate, inside the state, talking about Ohio. Because the firearm that you have has not left the boundaries of Ohio first. It was manufactured in the state of Ohio. It came from a plant in the state of Ohio. And then it ended up in your hands in the state of Ohio. But let's say you have a bullet in that gun. And that bullet was a 9mm that was made in Texas. That bullet has left interstate commerce, intrastate, and now has went interstate, and now it has traveled across borders into the state of Ohio and found its way into your High Point. You will not be charged with a gun. You'll be charged for the bullets. Felon in possession of a firearm or ammunition that has traveled outside of intrastate commerce into interstate commerce. Okay? I know it's crazy, but just keep going with me. I got you. Okay? So, we've established this, okay? According to the lawyer guy, once you get this charge right here, there's nothing you can do. But understand one thing. There's only one way to get this charge. You have to have a previous crime. Look what they have to prove. It shall be unlawful for any person who has been convicted. You have to have been convicted to get this charge. In any court of a crime punishable by imprisonment of a term exceeding 1 year. Okay? What does that mean? That means you get caught with some marijuana in Ohio, and let's say they charge you with a felony 2 or felony 3 or felony 4 or felony 5. 2 years later, you get caught with a gun. 922G kicks in. Okay? Now follow me. Great. Let's keep going. Wild Child Entertainment TV, Lumpkin Electronics here, VR Escape Room. Come play with us. Let's keep going. Okay, so we were talking about restoration of rights. How do you get gun rights back? Let's travel to, do I want to go with this one first? As a matter of fact, let's go here and I'll explain this. Okay, I want you to break this down. This is another subsection of 920s. You see, when we're talking about guns, I want you to notice something, especially on a government level. You'll see 921, 922. We just going in order. Everything has to be defined. You know, so that's one thing that the government does. They define everything. Everything has a definition. So if I can go, okay, I'll give you an example. The term person and term whoever includes an individual, corporation, company, association, firm, partnership, society, or joint stock company, okay? So the government has just told you what classifies as a person, the definition of it. And they do this for everything. The term firearm means a weapon including a starter gun which will or is designed or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by actions of explosives. Why do they have these definitions? Because they can't just bring you into court and say he had a gun, and then you say, no, that's a BB gun. And they say, oh, so it don't meet the qualifications and the definition of the term. Same thing as felony. Felony means something. being convicted of a crime that exceeds 1 year. Everything has a definition in law, okay? So they explain every definition, what the term means, what the term shotgun means, what is a short barrel, what is a rifle, and they continue to explain these things. Let's see what the United States government, in the explanation of guns, says about whether a felon can own a gun or not. Look at what it says. The term crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year does not include. Look at how 922G comes after 921A20. So 921A20 is a subsection that's taking not including something. So it's saying, I'm gonna read it again and then we're gonna run through it. The term crime punishable by imprisonment exceeding 1 year, basically a felony, does not include any federal or state offenses pertaining to antitrust violations, unfair trade practices, restraint of trade, or other similar offenses relating to regulation of business practices. What does that mean? That means that you stole somebody's money, you got a felony charge, and just because you have a felony charge does not disqualify you from owning firearms. That's what that just said. Let's read it again. The term crime punishable by imprisonment of a term exceeding 1 year does not include. So it's taking things off the table that is not included in the term crime punishable by a term of 1 year. A felony. Let's look at B. Any state offense. Here we go. Classified by the laws of the state as a misdemeanor and punishable by a term of imprisonment of 2 or less years. What did it just say? It just told you that a misdemeanor, because a misdemeanor is a crime that you can get 2 or less years for. So what they're saying is a misdemeanor is disqualified from this section of the gun laws. Don't include that. Okay, look at what it says. What constitutes a conviction? I'm right here. I'm in this sentence down here. What constitutes a conviction of such a crime shall be determined in accordance with the law of the jurisdiction in which the proceedings were held. The federal government is saying right here that whatever jurisdiction that the crime took place in, we have to look to what that state says or what that location says to determine whether or not you have violated a gun law. Y'all following me? Great. Okay, here we go. Any conviction, any words mean things. Conviction which has been expunged, okay, that's 1. Set aside, that's 2. Or for which a person has been pardoned, that's 3. Wasn't the guy talking about that? Okay, let's keep going. Or has civil rights restored, that's the key, shall not be considered a conviction for the purposes of this chapter. Don't 922G and all them other numbers come after? They're talking about this chapter, the gun chapter. Unless, see how they threw that in there? Such pardon, expungement, or restoration of civil rights expressly provides that the person may not ship, transport, possess, or receive firearms. I think y'all got me. I don't think I have to repeat that. I think y'all got it. Let's keep moving. We in the state of Ohio. You 21 years old, you don't got no money. You out here stealing people's money, check cashing, stealing people's checks. You do this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You get caught. State of Ohio catch you, say because you was doing this, we're going to sentence you to 2 years in prison, 2 years probation. You get out of prison in a year because you was good, got a felony. It's a felony 4. Get out of state prison, year, you do a year probation, they kick you off. You got a felony. Can you own a firearm? Give you another scenario with the same person. Dude driving down the street, get pulled over by the police. Sir, Smell marijuana in the car. Can you please step out the car, sir? Sure. Sir, you got the marijuana stick. Got to write you a ticket for it. Marijuana. Possession of marijuana. Felony. 5. Thank you. Give you a $30 fine and $100 fine and year probation and you're done. Can you get your, can you own a firearm? This guy, I'm not going to say it. The other two is guys, I'm going to go to woman. This woman. Boyfriend come home, been cheating on her. She walked through the door, pow, she sock him, stomping him out in the hallway. Police arrive, arrest her for domestic violence, felony. She get it, give her 2 years probation, some anger management courses. Can she own a firearm? 3 scenarios I just gave you. 3 scenarios. Guy with a gun, guy with weed in the car, girl with a domestic violence, and a guy stealing checks. All felons. All got the same. Let's say all got felony 5 all in their record. State of Ohio. They all got felony 5s. They all have done and completed their time. Let's see what Ohio says. Okay? Having weapons under disability is the law in the state. ORC, Ohio Revised Code 2923-13. Let's go through it. Unless relieved from disability. Look how it starts. Unless relieved. That means that there's relief possible. That's the first thing. Under operational law or legal process. What does that mean? That means that under operational law means it just happened under the law. You may not know it happened, but it happened. Legal process means you filed some paperwork. No person shall knowingly acquire, have, carry, or use any firearm or dangerous ordinance, and any of the following apply. If any of the following apply, they got to prove their case. 1, the person is a fugitive from justice. So you have to be a fugitive from justice to be charged with this. The person is under indictment for or has been convicted of any felony offense or violence or has been adjudicated a delinquent child for the commission of an offense that is committed by an adult who would have been a felony offense of violence. 3, the person is under indictment for or has been convicted of any felony offense involving the illegal possession, use, sale, administration, distribution, trafficking, and any drug or abuse, or have been adjudicated delinquent child for the commission of the offense that is committed by an adult would have been a felony offense involving the illegal possession, use, sale, administration, distribution, or trafficking, and any drug abuse. The person is drug dependent, in danger or drug independence or chronic alcohol. The person is under adjudication of mental incompetence. We can stop right there. Whoever violates this section is guilty of having weapons while under disability, a felony to 3rd degree. What it didn't say. I gave you 3. 1, 2, 3. The guy with the checks, the dude with the weed, and the girl with the domestic violence. The guy with the checks. Did it say anything in here that if you stealing people's money or you defrauding people that you can't own firearms? It did not. Did it say anything in here about if you stealing people's stuff or if you doing all this? 1 second. If you're doing all this, then you can't own firearms. Nope. What did it say? Illegal possession, use, sale, administration, distribution, trafficking of marijuana, no more firearms. If you drug dependent and it's proven, chronic alcohol dependent, no more firearms. Person is under incompetence, no more firearms. What about violence? Felony offensive violence. Felony offensive violence. Now, how do you know if your felony offensive violence is considered a felony offensive violence? Well, the state of Ohio, take this word and drop it in there, they'll give you everything that they consider their definitions of violent crimes. And if your crime falls under there, you can no longer own a firearm. So let's say, you say, okay, Kev, well, I was stealing people's money and robbing them and all that stuff. I'm not talking about robbing with a pistol, because that would be a what? Dangerous, violent crime, correct? Okay, stay with me now. So now, if you then now go and get a firearm and carry it, and you get pulled over, and they say, oh, you got a felony. When they run your name, Cleveland police is going to know Oh, well, your felony doesn't qualify for us to charge you with having weapons under disability. The federal government has now said, what? Conviction for the purpose of this chapter unless such expungement may not ship or transport. We already know what the state of Ohio says about carrying firearms, right? You can't do it if you fall up under these categories. But let's look at this one right here. The United States government in 2021 arrested 7,450 people, or charged offenders, and they were convicted of the 922G. 7,454. Okay? 7,454. Out of those 7,454, how many do you think the federal government, prosecutors, their lawyers, anybody, went back to see if their crime was a qualifying crime when it took place? He got a felony. He's not supposed to have guns, right? Instead of looking at what it really says, okay? 922G, they just look at this and say who has been convicted in any court of crime, punishable by. That's all they're trying to prove. They're not trying to come here and say, well, wait a minute, if they had their rights restored. So let's go to what that means. Civil rights, let's talk about it, okay? Under conviction of a felony, a person loses the right to vote. So when you go to jail, you don't vote. Serve on a jury, or hold an office, hire, or honor and trust and profit, meaning mayor, governor. You can't do these three things. Follow me now. However, a person may vote during the period of probation, non-jail community sanction, by Ohio Revised Code 2961.01a, that is the son. Other civil rights are restored to most convicted persons, keyword most, upon final release from parole or post-release control, or upon completion of the prison sentence if the person is not placed under post-release control. Let me just break that down to you in some simpler language. The first guy, who was the check guy, remember he did the year and got out, and then he did a year on probation? Once he got out, he can now vote. He still can't be a governor, and he still cannot sit on a jury. Once he has finished his year probation, now he can sit on a jury, and now he can be a mayor, right? And he can also vote. So what has happened is by operation of law, he has received his civil rights back. What does that mean? That means by operation of law, the federal government now cannot come charge him with being a felon in possession of a firearm if he has a firearm, because what did it say? What did it say? Where is it at? Let me see. It is determined in accordance with the law of jurisdiction. Where is the jurisdiction of the crime? The state of Ohio. So the federal government is deferring to the state and saying, okay, did you give this person the right to own a firearm? Yes, we did. How did you do it? Okay, what did we do? We gave him his rights back. First he gave him the right to vote back, then we gave him the right to sit on the trial, then we gave him this, then we didn't restrict him. We only restrict 2 people from owning guns in the state of Ohio. Who are those 2 people? Felony offensive violence or drugs. And then you can include the third person in there, which would be the mental health and the alcohol drug dependency. But how can they prove that? How can they prove number 4 if nobody ever told or said anything about you? See what I mean? So that's why they're going with the other ones, okay? So, can a felon, somebody who was convicted of a crime exceeding 1 year, own a firearm? Yes, depending upon the crime they committed, depending upon the state they're from, and they have to see whether their rights were restored back to them to own firearms. If their rights were restored back to them to own firearms within the state, it could be Ohio, Michigan, every state got different ways. Some states say you got to wait 7 years. Some states don't give it back to you at all. They never give you your rights back because they know this would kick in, right? You got to know what state you're from. I'm just breaking down Ohio because that's the state I'm from. It's easy to understand. It's easy to break down. Let me see if I got anything else for y'all on this subject. We could just go through quick facts. Felon in possession of firearm. Fiscal year 18, 69,425 cases were reported to United States Sentencing Commission. 70,000 cases of felon in possession of a firearm. Here's the question. Do you think that felon in possession of a firearm, out of 70,000 cases, that maybe, do you think 1% of those people maybe had their civil rights back and didn't even know it? Of these cases, 6,719 involved convictions under 922G. 70,000 was the whole. Okay, I see. So they had 6,719. Okay, it went up in 21. Okay. 922G prohibits certain persons from shipping, transporting, possessing, or receiving a firearm or ammunition while subject to a prohibition from doing so, most commonly because a prior conviction for a felony offense. There we go. Because of a prior conviction of a felony offense. Again, without knowing whether that, not knowing what the state say, you'll be in a world of trouble, and you won't even know. You won't even know that you weren't supposed to be. As y'all see, look at the numbers, how they went up higher. 97.7% of felon in possession of firearm offenders were men. Come on, y'all. Really? 97.7% of people convicted of felony in possession of a firearm was men. 54.2% was black. 24.9% was white. 17% was Hispanic. And 3% was other races. The average age was 34. 94% of them was United States citizens. 25.6 were in the highest criminal category. Remember we talked about that yesterday? Criminal category 1, category 2, category 3, a level up and down. Then they break down the districts: Missouri, Texas, Carolina, Texas, Missouri again. Okay. Then they just give some other fun statistics. Let me see if there's anything. The average sentence for all felony convictions, possession of firearm offenders, 64 months. That's roughly 5 years. That's usually, unless you got other mitigating circumstances, meaning mandatory minimums on your crime. You didn't just get caught with a pistol. You got caught with a pistol and some crack or some drugs. We know how we know what Joe. We talked about what Joe did already. Joe trying to make it right. That's what he's trying to do, but he already did all the damage. So that's why I'm breaking this down right here, so you'll know your rights. You'll know exactly what they can come get you for and what they can't come get you for. See what I mean? Okay, let's see. Sentence imposed relative to guideline range, under guidelines manuals. Okay, so 67.8% of the judges went up under the guidelines, And then 32.2% variances, meaning, hey, they had other circumstances that maybe they couldn't go under the guidelines. All right? So, y'all remember these numbers. If y'all want to take a look, the video will always be around. That's about it on that. If you're a felon in possession, what you need to do, I'll just bullet point it out. What you need to do, you need to go look at every crime you committed. You need to go see if that disqualifies you from owning a firearm. If it disqualifies you from owning a firearm, don't. If you have a federal felony, you can't have a firearm, so don't do it. And if your civil rights has been restored to you and you are allowed to carry a firearm because you didn't commit a violent crime or a what did it say again? I'm tired. Or a drug crime, then what I would suggest you do is go to the lawyer, show him all of the information, and say, can I at least get some paper or something? You know what I'm saying? Can you draw me up something? So the courts know this, so they'll identify this and I'll have it on record. And that is possible, I assume. I don't know. You might be able to do that. So that's it. Y'all have a nice day. Remember, Wild Child TV, check us out. Locate it. Come in. Play Virtual Escape Room, Lumpkin Electronics. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. We'll just be breaking down stuff, man. We just talking. Y'all got y'all opinion, man. Drop it in the comments, man. Do you agree? You disagree? What? You're just doing here just to drop some knowledge, man. Have some fun. See what y'all think. We dropping content all the time. K-Lump, Virtual Escape Room. Come in, play with us. Look. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. Y'all think I'm joking. Look. Virtual Escape Room. We're ready for y'all to come out and play. Have some fun. There's the Oculus is over there. Ready to come play. Get into space. Have some fun. Probably going to do a video in a minute. I'm going to be in the game. I'm going to be playing Onward. I think I'm going to do Onward, okay? Try to go through some houses, have some fun a little bit, all right? All right. Y'all be safe. Y'all be cool. Hey, remember what I always say, man. The world is a dangerous place. So y'all be observant of your surroundings and take safe precautions before just going out into the world. And y'all be safe out there. Life is valuable, and people crazy nowadays. So, hey, peace, love, like, subscribe.